Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bob's Bookshelf. I'm your host, Bob. Today, two beautiful books that are a set that go together. It's called Type, A Visual History of Typefaces and Graphic Styles. There's volume 1 here, which goes from 1628 to 1900, and then volume 2 from 1901 to 1938. I thought that because we're at the point where we're starting to think about how we want our books to look and feel, that perhaps looking at some more historical material might be useful in helping us figure out which way that we might want to go with the visual vocabulary that you want to employ for your project. So let's get started. We'll start with volume 1. And I'll center this up and then we'll pin and then we'll get started. All right, here we go. Okay, so first of all, beautiful presentation on the cover. This book is silk screened in 2 colors, black and red, and then foil stamped in metallic gold. Really beautiful. And, you know, a field of different, interesting, beautiful typefaces. Can't go wrong there. And the back is just this incredible set of letter forms. Okay. So let's go on. Red end papers. Lovely. Half title. I love how the half title is so restrained after the exuberance of the cover, right? And then we turn the page and we get more exuberance, more fun. This is printing in metallic gold and then black. Okay. More metallic gold, large letter forms floating in a field. Here's our table of contents. Now, one thing about this book is that everything is in 3 languages. So there's English, German, and French for everything. So this brings up a number of interesting design problems to solve that will probably not be affecting you in quite the same way, but it does allow for some interesting things to happen. Okay. So first here we get the English, then the German, then the French for the introduction. And then it starts in on the first essay, this beautiful 2-color letter form blown up way larger than actual size. This first essay is about the ideal typeface. You can see right away we have a 2-column grid, okay? And we have margins that are doing this. The captions run in all 3 languages together, regardless of what language the essay is in, all right? So this makes paging through the book really interesting, even if you can't read the language that the essay is written in. So this essay looks at some classic typefaces: Garamond, Caslon, Baskerville, Bedoni, Times New Roman, Excidens Grotesque, Futura, Gill Sans, and Helvetica. All right. Now notice that through this whole essay section, there's a line running through. There's a hang line that the text fits within. Also, notice the footers. So the folios are out on the outer edges, and then the essayist's name is here toward the gutter, and then the title of the essay is here. They are inset from the edges, okay? And they're inset by the length of the indent for the paragraphs. I'll lift up the book and maybe this will be a little easier to see. I'm getting some shadows, sorry about that. Okay, so there's the page number. And there's that running footer. What this allows for is an optical alignment with the text block because we're going flush left and ragged right. It's very difficult to optically align something with the right edge of ragged right type because it's a soft edge. So by indenting and indenting on both sides, this allows for a beautiful optical alignment here, okay? The other thing that's happening is that there's this long, thin line connecting these two things together. This creates a sort of foundation to the page. For my personal taste, that's a little much. I would have seen if I could live without that line, but it's clear what the function is and it works. So floating above this hang line are figure illustrations. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the caption for each is in all three languages. And that runs all the way through. Okay. So now we get the same essay in German, and the visual material shifts. Okay. So it's like there's two stories happening at the same time. All right. And again, you can read all these captions in either German, English, or French. Okay, all the way through. And then now we have it again. This is the French version. Beautiful multi-chrome typeface here. So these typefaces would come with just this outer block and then the letter form. And if you registered them up, you could print them in different colors. Really beautiful. Okay, so this runs through this way. Here's an early appearance of Gil Sans. Okay, the next essay starts talking about the collection of type specimens. Beautiful decorative material, incredible material here. Okay. And it goes through. So I'm not going to go through every single page of this book. Let's jump ahead. Okay. So here are some extremely highly decorated letter forms. And what I love about these is their incredible visual exuberance and the idea that the visual aspect of this is paramount and the designer is not as concerned with the readability of this. These are readable enough, but it's really, they're more interested in how much decorative material can we cram into these letter forms, which is really, really fascinating. And so we're getting all kinds of interesting ways of dealing with the letter forms in a decorative fashion. Similarly with borders and dingbats. Okay, so off we go. So at this point, we're at about 1839. There's a running footer that gives you the date of the specimen that you're looking at. So you can kind of scroll through and find what year you're interested in. Here, extremely beautiful setting of Arabic. Okay, now let's jump forward a little more. Okay. So here, what we're looking at is the desire by craftspeople and typesetters to start breaking the standard orthogonal grid where everything is at 90 degrees to each other. Okay, so they started building these things where there would be a little area in here for you to place the letters so that they could curve. There were additional forms that would allow you to register this shape on top of this line art so that you could get color in there. Keep in mind, everything we're seeing here is metal type, letterpress printing, okay? So you can imagine making something like this on your computer would be somewhat complicated. Imagine doing this with zillions of little pieces of metal. It's really quite incredible, the level of craft and inventiveness that these people were engaged with. Okay. I'm a big fan of all of this kind of decorative material, and I'll share something else with you here. I have this book, this catalog of typographic borders and ornaments. And as you can see from all the Post-its, this book is well loved. And there are just countless pages of all of this kind of decorative material, all right? And it just happens that this book is copyright free, which means we have scanned many of these things and used them in projects. Okay, so that's part of what I find so interesting about this historical material is that you can use this in your own work, make it fresh, make it contemporary, make it new. Okay, and as we get further on, the level of complexity gets greater, more and more dense visually. It's really quite incredible what these guys can get going here. Okay. Beautiful two-tone typefaces. All right, so let's go on to the next volume. So same idea as volume 1, except now the cover is black. So there is white and red silkscreen, and again, the gold foil. Okay. Wraps onto the spine in a beautiful way and onto the back cover. Same idea with the red end papers. Two books match. Same treatment with the half title and then the full title. Again, the metallic gold composition of type forms, and then into the table of contents, and off we go. So the same structure visually as the previous volume, but different materials. So this volume runs from 1901 to 1938. Let's jump ahead a little ways. Some beautiful multi-chrome initial caps here. Just incredible. What can you say? Looks great as a drop cap. All right. Beautiful, delicate, decorative material mixed with sands. One interesting thing about seeing the way sans serif typefaces are presented in this time period, this is the early 1900s, is that they are not used in what we would think of as a modernist fashion. They're mixed with all the other kinds of decorative material that you would use at that time. And it's interesting, it softens the sans serif typefaces up quite a bit visually. Okay. All right, let me jump ahead again. More of these multi-chrome letter forms where there are, so everything you see here in green is one piece of type, and everything you see in red is another piece of type. So you print the green and then you register it with the red. And of course you could print this in any color you want, and you could print this in any color you want as well. All right. Some of these depend on very tight registration to work, like this down here. So look at oranges with the black type and the orange drop shadow. Really quite incredible. There's a whole fashion for this in the early 1900s. Here there's a shadow that prints over the shadow, so you get even more dimensionality. Let's see here. So you look at that capital D. Really, really, really quite lovely. Okay, we'll jump ahead again. So here's a specimen for a sans called Reform Grotesque. This is from 1908. And what's interesting here is that it's sans. So we have certain associations with sans serif type that that in 1908 did not yet exist. So the type is centered, which we don't necessarily associate with sans, and it's surrounded by a decorative border. And there's a very decorated little illustration cut here with it as well. So it's really fascinating to me to see how the typefaces appeared in context during the time period in which they were first introduced. Here's some more initial caps, really, really incredible. The figure ground relationship that these things have. I'll hold this up so you can see a little better. Just look at the way the space almost vibrates against itself, and then the letter form pops out in the second color. Here they are used as drop caps, really beautiful. Okay, more incredible decorative material. And then a similar kind of composition here. Okay, fascinating mix of the geometric and really organic swirling curvilinear forms. We're at 1909 at this point. Okay. All right, let's jump ahead again. More really dense decorative material. This is quite geometric in the way it's composed. And it's mixed again with some sans. Just fascinating to see how these things group together. The density of the sans serif type with the density of the decorative material really makes an interesting kind of visual sense to me. Okay, more dense initial caps. Okay, and we'll jump ahead again. All right, here's an early appearance of Nyland, and very fascinating typeface that was designed to look like it was roughly cut out of wood or some other material. This typeface has all kinds of connotations to us now, not all of them particularly positive, but when it was first introduced, you can see it has this beautiful, almost modernist kind of feel. The density of the characters, their liveliness, the juxtaposition with these really geometric illustrations and decorative borders. It's fascinating to see. And then these black letter typefaces and more sans. Here's Grotesque, 1924. All right. Also at this time period, we're starting to see the idea of revivals. So finding old typefaces and recutting them for contemporary equipment. So here's a revival of Garamond from 1924. Garamond has been revived many times. Every time the technology shifts, Garamond gets another makeover. All right. So there you go. Really beautiful. Okay. So these books, I believe, are in our library. If you want to go take a look and check them out and look at them in more detail, it's just a never-ending wonderland of visual delight if you like typography. So yeah, there you go. That's it for this time. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And let me know what you think. Take care, and we'll see you around. Bye.